This bracelet starts with seed beads and builds the seed from there. Hi there, I'm Dena. I'm a pharmacist turned jewelry designer who found peace in creating one bead at a time. On this channel, I unbox subscription bead kits and share tutorials to help you turn these materials into your creations. Today I'm using the June 2025 Bargain Bead Box to make a bracelet featuring a ladder stitch base embellished with fish and shell beads. On the next page, I will show you the supplies that you're needing, so be sure to hit the pause button so you can gather them up. So let's get started. Alrighty, so let's get started. So we need to figure out how many rows or how many beads that we're going to add in each row of our ladder stitch. To do that, I have both of my beads that I'm going to be putting on top of the ladder stitch sitting in horizontal fashion at the moment. They're going to end up being like this on the bracelet itself, where the beads are going vertical like this. That's how I'm going to do it. You can always do it this way as well and use less beads, but I'm going to measure it in this fashion just because it's easier for me to pick up that way. And I think 7 of our 8-ohs is going to work. So I have 7 of my 8-ohs and I'm holding it up next to my fish where the holes are going horizontal like this. And it's just about the same length. And then the same thing with the shell, holding it up to the shell and everything. And the shell is just a slightly smaller than 7 beads, but that's fine. If we're a little bit smaller, then that'll be okay. So I think that's going to be what we're going to end up using for our ladder stitch. So go ahead and put those 7 beads on your thread and needle on the first, and then pull it down until you get down to a comfortable length to hold on to down here on the bottom. On this first row, you're going to add actually your first 2 rows. So we're going to add another 7 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And there's a lot of thunder in the background too, so hopefully I don't have a close thunder strike and I scream at you on camera. If I do, I'll try to put a little note on the screen to let you know that it's coming. So, and of course I was talking about thunder and I didn't talk about what to do. So you put those other 7 beads on your thread and needle. You go back up through the original 7 beads that we went through. So my thread's coming out of the original 7 right now. So now we're going to get to a point where we're going to cover up some of that thread that we used right here. So I'm going to pick up one of the 11-ohs. I'm going to go back down the second row of the 7 beads. And then I'm going to pick up another 11-oh and then proceed back through the first row. Now the only reason why I'm going through the ladder stitch so many different times is because we're using so many beads. With it being 7 beads like this, they're going to end up being a little loose like that, and I want to make sure that we have plenty of room to be able to put our fish beads on top and they don't fall through, basically. So now that we have our first 2 rows of our ladder stitch on, we're going to proceed through that 11-oh that's up at the top, go through the next 7 8-ohs that are sitting there, and then we're going to add our third row of ladder stitch. So add 7 more beads. So you got 7 there. Go from the top to the bottom of the previous ladder stitch, and then that gets this next one on. Now before you go back through to reinforce, pick up an 11-oh to kind of cover up some of that thread and go up the new 7 beads, pick up another 11-oh, go back down the previous 7 beads. Now you need to get yourself set up for the next row to add. So go through the 11-oh and the 7 beads that you just added on this row. And now you're set up for the next row. So that's ladder stitch. So go ahead and complete as many rows as you need in order to get almost around your wrist. Now you're going to have to leave a little bit of room to be able to add your clasp So I would say leave at least an inch, and then we're going to be downgrading this a little bit. So add or leave at least 2 inches because we're going to downgrade this ladder stitch to make it easier to attach your clasp. And then we're going to be doing that on both ends, so that's going to add probably about an inch because we're going to need about a half an inch for both sides. So I leave about an inch for that, and then another inch for your clasp. So a total of 2 inches. So if you wear about a I'll just say 7-inch bracelet, then go ahead and do about 5 inches of your ladder stitch. And then I'll come back, and that's about the size I think I'm going to try to make mine today. So I'll come back and I'll let you know exactly how many rows that is, so that way if you want to follow along, you'll know how many rows of ladder stitch to do. So I'll see you back in a second, and myself, it'll be a few minutes so I can finish my ladder stitch. Alrighty, so I have finished my ladder stitch, and I went ahead and did one side so I know what I was going to end up doing, so I wasn't fumbling through it and messing up how to show you how to do it and everything. So I've already done that one side, but I ended up doing a total of 44 rows of ladder stitch using the 7 beads. So we're going to copy this side over here to get this finished, and this ends up being just the 44 rows, somewhere around 5 inches, maybe a little bit looser than 5 inches, but holding it up on my wrist and everything, because I usually wear about a 7¼ inch wrist. That's about how much room I have left over. So when you add the clasp and the extra part, it's going to end up looking like that. So it's going to be a little loose on my wrist again. So hopefully we'll be somewhere around the 7 to 7.5 inch bracelet. We will see at the end. Alright, so let's copy this other side. So all I did is, I'm on actually my 3rd wingspan of thread. I'm about halfway through it already. So ladder stitch takes up a whole lot of thread when you do it this way. So all I did was just add this to the end where our starter thread was hanging out of. So that's where I'm at right now. So we're going to decrease. So we have our last row of the 7 stitches there. So to decrease, we're going to pick up 2 11-ohs, and then the first decrease is going to be 5 of our 8s, and then 2 more 11s. So we're going to go ahead and add the 11s on this round. So you're coming out the top up there of the 7 of the row of 7. So we're going to go through the bottom just like we did in the previous stitches, and then come out the top. And then we're going to go ahead and reinforce by going back through all those beads that you just added. The 2 11s, the 5 8s, the 2 11s on the other side. Proceed back through the 7 seed beads of the last row of the ladder stitch. And then you need to get yourself set up to add your next row of decrease. So go back through the 2 11s and the 5 8s and come out that last 8. Then we're going to add 2 11s, 3 8s, and 2 11s. We're going to do the same thing. Just make sure you go through just the 5 8s here. You don't have to go through the 11s unless you want to. But I am skipping the 11s. I'm just going through the 8s, and then I'm reinforcing again. And then go back through the 5 8s there, and then after that get yourself set up to add your last row of decrease. And this will end up adding just slightly less than a half an inch on either side. My estimate earlier was a half an inch, and it was kind of close, but it's just slightly less. So this last decrease will be 2 11s, 1 8, and then 2 11s. Then do the same thing. And then we're going to add our wire guard right away. So after we reinforce this, we want to be coming out of that single 8 that's sitting there. So go back through the 3, then 2 11s, come out that single 8, and then we're going to add our wire guard. Now the wire guard itself, I'm going to end up using jump rings on my clasp. I like to use jump rings with a magnetic clasp because I sell a lot of my jewelry, so it makes it easy for me to adjust the length of the bracelet out on the field if somebody needs adjustment, either increase or decrease in adjustment, just a slight increase or decrease. and they're not able to wait for me to kind of redo the base of the bracelet or something like that, whatever the case is. So I like to add jump rings to it. Now I don't know if I'm going to use these oval ones once I get to that part on this next portion, or when we get to the very end of the bracelet. I'll decide if I'm going to use those oval ones or not. The oval ones may actually end up adding too much length to my bracelet. I may not want that. So we'll see. We'll make that decision when we get there. So the the wire guard is a horseshoe shape. If you're not familiar with it, it's got two openings down here at the bottom, and it's got a little channel up here at the top. So we're going to go up through one of those openings, slide that down to your 8/0. Then we're going to go through the other opening on the other side. And then as I'm pulling it down, I'm pinching it in my hands just ever so slightly to help guide the thread to sit in the channel of the wire guard. So there it is right there. Then I'm going to do that again. So we're going to go back through the 8/0. And then we're going to go back up the right hand side of the wire guard, down the left hand side of the wire guard, pinching as we go. There we go. So make sure that your thread is sitting in the channel itself and it didn't escape from the channel. Then go back through your 8/0 again. So now we're pretty much done with the base of the bracelet. So I'm going to go ahead and tie off. I'm going to add my fish and my shells, but I'm going to use probably use the same thread that I'm using at the moment, but I want to start in the middle of the bracelet because I don't know exactly how many or how big the spaces and stuff like that I'm going to need in order to finish this part, because I'm kind of doing this on the fly. So I'm going to go ahead and tie off here. So I'm going underneath the bridge thread. And there's a huge thunderstorm coming, so I'm trying to get this done before it gets here. But you go through a bridge thread, create yourself a loop, and then go through that loop, pull tight. Go through some beads, do it again, go underneath the bridge thread, create a loop, go through that loop, and then pull tight. Just make sure you're staying in between the two beads that you came out of. I do that at least 3 times, sometimes more. I think on the other end, I think I did it 5 times. And that's only because it's a bracelet, and sometimes bracelets get a little bit more wear and tear compared to especially earrings. And necklaces can kind of get a lot of wear and tear sometimes too, so kind of just, you know, use your preference. You don't have to do as many knots. You can do more if you want. It's completely up to you. Whoops. And see that one got wrapped around. See how I can see, can you see that? There is a strand of thread sitting right there, so it got wrapped around a bead rather than in between the two beads. So I'm going to try to see if I can loosen that up a little bit. Yep, see how it went in between the two 11/0s there instead of in between the 8 and the 11 like I was trying to. So we're going to try to finagle this thread to get it to move backwards. And, oh good, it worked. I was afraid I was going to have to go ahead and cut and work on it off screen, but that worked. Okay, so I'm going to do one more knot right here, and then I'm going to go through the original 7, and then I'll tie off or burn off there and be done. So that was probably 4 or 5 knots. I kind of lost track since I got stuck there. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and burn off here. And then just be careful with burning down your edges if you do it this way, because you have a lot of thread sitting there. You don't want to accidentally burn through one of your threads for your ladder stitch. So then now that is the base of the bracelet done, and it kind of looks cute just like that. So very cute. I like it. And then that's what it looks like on the other side. Alrighty. So meet me back in a second, and then we'll start embellishing with our fish and shell beads. Alrighty, so in this step we're going to add our fish and our shells. And this is kind of the layout that I was intending to do, with something similar to this. I've got a 15/0 seed bead sitting up here at the top to kind of remind me exactly where my center is at, so when I move these beads out of the way then I won't lose where the center's at. But what I'm attempting to do is I'm going to add either the fish or the shell, and I'm going to do a little X pattern on this side of the beads and on this side of the beads. I will show you what I mean in just a moment, so if you're like, what are you talking about? I will get there, I promise. But I'm just kind of verbally telling you what's going on. So we're going to end up using 2 rows of ladder stitch to add each one of these beads. Then we're going to skip 2 rows of ladder stitch. Then we're going to use 2 rows of ladder stitch to add the next bead, and so on and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and start off here in the center, just because I don't know exactly if this spacing is going to be the right way. It looks like it's probably going to work, but sometimes it doesn't work out right. So we're going to start off in the center. If you want to start off on one end and then just add until you get to the other end, that's perfectly fine too. Because it looks like on either side here you can still add another shell bead if you wanted to. I'm going to leave these off. I'm just going to leave those blank and just have this amount sitting here like this. So I'm going to go ahead and move these guys out of the way, hopefully not moving my bracelet any, so I know where my center is at. I'm going to go ahead and add a stop bead. I'm going to use one of the 11-0s because I'm probably going to go ahead and use this in the product too. And I'm going to pull that stop bead down to the end of the thread until there's a comfortable amount to hold on to, and then go right back through that bead one more time. Now, we're going to pick up our fish bead. Okay. Now, we want to use these 2 rows right here. So I have my 15-0 sitting right here in between the 2 middle rows. So I counted out 22 on this side, 22 on that side. So this is in between. So we're going to use those 2 middle rows to add our fish bead. So we're going to add, I think, 3. So we're going to use our stop bead as bead number 1. So I'm going to pick up 2 more 11-0s. And then I'm going to go through the fish bead. And then I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s, and then we're going to go from the top all the way through those 7 beads to the bottom of the left hand side of the middle 2 rows. So this is our middle row right here, the middle 2 rows. So I'm going through the left hand side of the middle 2 rows right now. And then when you pull that down, it's obviously going to look really kind of weird. So pull it back over on top like that, like I just did. And then we're going to go back through those 3 11s. I keep calling them 15s. They're 11-0s. So 3 11-0s and go back through the fish again. I'm going to have to move these other beads out of the way. Okay. Maybe that'll focus better. Yay! Okay, so I'm going back through those 3 11-0s and coming back out the fish. And then when you pull that tight, that should kind of just help set it sitting there. Alright, now is 3 11-0s too much, or is that perfect? Let's see. I'm kind of just doing a visualization just to make sure. Yeah, we can probably share that last one. Okay, what I'm meaning is go ahead and go back through that first 11-0 on the other side. We're going to share that first 11-0 that's going to be on either side of the bead, so this one right here. So we're going to go back through that first 11-0. Then we're going to add 2 11-0s on our needle. And we already went through... Oh, focus. Good gracious. Okay, so we already went through this row right here where the needle's sitting at. So this row right here. This row to the right of it is the other middle row that we're wanting to go through. So we're going to go straight down through those 7 beads and then come out the other side. And then when you do that and you look at it at the top, now you have a total of 5 beads holding that fish into or on top of the ladder stitch. So you've got the 2 on the left, the 1 here in the center that we're sharing, and then the 2 on the right. So we need to mirror that on this side. So go ahead and pick up 2 more 11-0s. we're going to go through that 11-0 plus the fish bead again, come out the other side, and then from here it doesn't matter if you go to the left or to the right, it's going to be the same process. So go through the 11-0 that we're sharing for both edges. I'm going to go to the right just because I'm right-handed, and go down those two 11-0s. Then I'm going to go back through that middle, so it's basically the same 7 beads that we went back through to get down here on this side. So now we have our fish completely on there. Now we need to proceed through the 11-0 that's in between the next 2 rows, and we're going to skip 2 ladder stitches. So I'm going to go up the first row that we're skipping, go through the 11-0 in between, go down the next row that we're skipping, go through the 11-0 in between, and then go up the row that we're going to add our next bead on. So let's go ahead and do our 3 seed beads again. So 3 11-0s, and then our shell bead, and I don't know if I'm going to really worry about if the shell beads are this way or if they're this way. I think I'm just going to pick them up and go. And then if they all end up being the same way, then great. So you got 3 11s, add your shell bead, and then 3 11s. You're coming out of this row right here. See where the thread is at? So we're coming out of that row right there. We're going to go right back through the same row. And this is putting a whole lot of thread through your beads, which in my mind is okay because it is a bracelet, so we want to make sure it's not going to fall off. And then I'm going to look at this and make sure 3 is okay for this one, since it's a slightly smaller bead. This one looks to be okay, except I think I might not share anything. So let's get to where we can add our other side. So go back through the 3 11s that we added, the shell bead, come out the other end of the shell. We're going to go ahead and add 3 11s on the shell bead. So on the fish we're only going to add 2 and then share that 3rd bead. On this one we're going to go ahead and add 3 on either side and not share any of the beads. So we're coming, our first thread path is through, I didn't realize I wasn't showing it very good. The first thread path is through this ladder stitch right here. So we're going to go through this ladder stitch that's right next to it, to the right of it. So it's the next one in line. I hope this is making sense. There. And then when you get everything on there, that's the way it looks. So now we're back through that ladder stitch again, so we need to go through and add, or we need to add 3 more 11s on this side, so we can go back through the shell bead one more time, and then just make sure everything looks good and sits right. Yeah, I don't think we're going to have to share that bead. Yeah, that's sitting okay. If it's kind of sitting a little wonky, or if you don't like the way that looks, then you can always share that 3rd bead like we did with the fish over here too. And then we're going to proceed down the 3 seed beads that we added on the other side of the shell bead. We're going to go back through that same right hand side ladder stitch. So I just flipped it to the back so it's easier to explain where I'm going. We're going to go through the 11-0. That's right next to it. This will be, go back up the next ladder stitch, which will be the first one we're skipping. Go through, I just hit the camera, sorry. Go through the next 11-0. Go down the next ladder stitch will be the second one that we're skipping. Go through the 11-0, and then go up the next ladder stitch, which is where we will add our next fish bead. So I'll go ahead and start this process and then break away. We'll let you finish that part and then come back and show you how to add the clasp if you are not familiar with it, just in case, and then we'll have a finished bracelet after that. So go through there, and I'm going to go back up through the 11-0 seed beads, the fish bead, come back out and share that third bead there, or that first bead of the 3. I'm going to add 2 more seed beads, go through the next ladder stitch in line. So now I'm down at the bottom, add 2 more 11-0s, I'm starting to run out of thread, and then go through that first seed bead right up against the fish, come out the fish, go through the shared seed bead on that side, the 2 11-0s, and then now you're set up to move on and add your next shell bead. So go ahead and add your beads onto your bracelet and then meet me back, and then I'll show you how to put on that clasp, and then we'll have a finished bracelet. See you back in a second. Alrighty, so we have our bracelet almost completed when you get your fish and your shells on there. So looking pretty cute so far. I have gone ahead and decided to use smaller jump rings. These are 4mm jump rings, and then the inner diameter is somewhere between 2 and 3 millimeters, something like that. The ones that I were going to use, those are 6 by 4 millimeters, and with it being the 6mm being the longer portion of it. So I wanted to use something a little bit smaller. So if you're not familiar on how to add a clasp, it's pretty simple. Just need to open up your jump ring. Of course, it's not going to focus because my bracelet's in the way, so I'm going to move that out of the way. There we go, now we can focus. Okay, so open up your jump ring, put your pliers on either side of the opening of the jump ring, and then twist open. You never want to go this way with it. You always want to twist. So twist that open. Go ahead and connect onto one of your wire guards. And then I always leave my clasp together. Some people will put part of their clasp on and then take it apart and then put the other half on. I always leave mine together. I have a tendency sometimes of not paying attention to which side, and meaning, you know, the top or the bottom of the clasp. And sometimes I put it on upside down. So I always leave mine together. And then with magnetic clasps, it's always fun to try to grab a hold of the jump ring without getting too attached to the magnet with your pliers. But then you just close it up like that. Take your other jump ring, figure out where the opening is at, twist that open, put your jump ring on first is usually what I find is easier when you're using magnets, is to put your jump ring on your wire guard first. Then wrap your bracelet around, put your clasp on that side, and then close this up. And we have now completed our bracelet, which I think I'm going to call Fisherman's Catch, because it just reminds me of going out fishing. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope this ocean-inspired Fisherman's Catch bracelet has given you some ideas of using your own beads from the Tranquil Tides box. If you need extras like the seed beads, the thread, or the tools that I've used, I have links down in the description box down below that you can follow to purchase what you need. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back for more bead box creations. Thanks again, everyone. I will catch y'all in the next video. Bye now.